topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready for Insights to Incite? Ready or not, it's showtime. Now get ready to listen in and watch right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Join us and together we will escape the mundane. Insights to Incite, here is your host, Brandon Lawson.
Was it love of people? I asked her. Of course no, she snapped sharply. How can you love ignorant, brutish people whom you don't even know? Can anyone love filth and squalor? Or lice and rats? Who can love aching weariness and carry on working in spite of it? One cannot love these things. One can only love God, and through his grace come to love his people. Do you have that picture? Does anybody recognize this lady? If you may, if you might, and you're watching, and type her name in over to the side here. But this is Jennifer Worth. Jennifer was a nurse back in the 1960s. And she's later turned into a trained musician as well as an author, and wrote some books. But you can find more about her if you search for her on the internet. But friends, I want to thank you for joining me today, for joining us on Insights to Incite. This is your host, Brandon Lawson. And we will be getting into lesson 2 of our series, The L's to L, Humanity with Him. And as I mentioned at the outset of last week's show, that each lesson in this series, each L that we mention, will build on the previous L or the previous L's, the lessons that came before. And it'll be much like a stepladder or a stairwell. If you can envision, you climb this ladder, this stairwell, so we make our way upward. And so last week I asked you, how much do you like God? Yeah, it was how much do you like God, not how much do you like about God. Well, today I want us to consider our love for God. The first L was like. Today we speak of love, our love for God. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being empty and 10 being full, where are you at? Just what does your love gauge for God read at this time? I believe that all of humanity, not one exception, I believe that all of humanity desires to know, to truly experience, to truly feel and experience the Father's love. Yeah. And, I think that, there may be many who don't think they do, but nonetheless, I believe every one of us does. We truly desire to feel, to know through experience the love of God. With that said, I believe that there's a very small fraction of a percent of the human race who actually does know the love of God, especially to know it in the fullness of it. And many of these people, they've never read from the Word, they've never read from the Bible, they've never held a Bible. In fact, many of them have not ever heard a word, not one word uttered from the Bible. Then there are those who grew up in Christian homes who still don't know the love of God. I've read many authors, many people, some work in the field of Christian work now, and they speak of they grew up in a Christian home, but they never knew the love of God. It was just, they went through the motions. And in fact, many of these same people were preachers' kids. Yeah. Friends, it might surprise you how many people who had a father whose father was a minister, a pastor, who still never really have experienced the love of God. And, it is sad. And a lot of what makes it so sad is because quite often it is true. Yes, it is true so often that, it makes you wonder. But why? Why have we, even those who may have been raised in the church, why have you somehow not come to know, not have actually experienced God's love? Well, I think it's worth looking into. And I want to look into that in our show today. But even more, I want to try to give you some insight as to how you can experience the love of God, how you can truly know His love. And I'm not talking about merely becoming a Christian, because there's plenty who've come to Christ who still don't know the fullness of Him, don't really know from experience the real love of God. So today, I want at the end of today's show, hopefully you'll have some more insight and some stuff that will come to help you to know His love. And of course, I'm not speaking from the standpoint of knowledge. No. I hope you can take some nuggets with you that will help you to be able to do some things and to make some changes so you will know this love through experience. This love being His love. Yes. And we're going to get into this, and that will be, follow as we get into the crux of the lesson. But at this moment, we're going to take a brief break to step away to our first commercial, and we'll be right back.
Are you on the edge of your seat and wanting more? Stay tuned as we go on a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Insights to Incite with Brandon Lawson, right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Are you seeking a speaker or coach who speaks life into your people? If so, look no further. Brandon Lawson is one who will inspire and motivate his audience, as well as empathize and relate to all. Reach out to Brandon and let him be your speaker and life coach by sending an email to brandon@connectandimpact.net
Or by calling him at 513-708-1517.
Brandon looks forward to speaking with you, to you, and for you. Let's connect and impact today. Insights to Incite, a real show with real-life messages. This show, which can be found on radio, TV, and our podcast, gives us insight to incite us to action and to excellence. Watch and or listen to Insights to Incite live at noon Eastern Time every Thursday on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Check out our past episodes on iHeartRadio, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Join us each week, and together we will escape the mundane. We are back with more Insights to Incite, so get ready and tune in to listen and watch. Now once again, let's join Brandon Lawson.
Very quickly, I want to take a moment to mention the two specials my company, Connect and Impact, is offering this month. This first one is for the coaching. And Roxy, if you have that, there we go. So if you pay up front this month, you pay up front and save more money. With a 12-month agreement, you'll get 33% off the cost of your first 6 months. Just send me an email. There's no specific day this month that it has to be sent on. Just reach out to me this month at brandon@connectandimpact.net. And you can also reach me at isc2ci@gmail.com. In fact, if you send the email to brandon@connectandimpact.net, when I respond, it may come back as isc2ci@gmail.com, as that's where my company's email gets routed to. So that's the first special, the coaching special. And the second one is the speaking special. And if you reach out on Mondays in March, and the primary thing is that you send me the email on Mondays, and I get back to you on Tuesday and you book it, you'll still get the reward. The special will qualify. But on Mondays, if you reach out Mondays in March and book me for multiple speaking engagements, you'll get $100 off the remuneration, which is $100 off the price of the total cost. And so there you have it, the two specials for the month of March. Now, I want to look at some reasons as to why we miss out on really experiencing His love. Consider these three receptors. And these, in fact, are three receptors that, tend to be, they come in the way of too much. Yeah. And we have too much, and thus we experience too little of that which we should. The three receptors that reroute us. The first is our livelihood. Here in America, we are immensely blessed. Yes, we've been sliding away and from the Christian roots our country was founded on. And honestly, it's only gotten worse here as of late. Nonetheless, we are a country that, in comparison to other countries, other areas across the globe, we are a country that still, even though it's gotten worse, we're still thriving when you compare us to the rest of the world. Yes, we have plenty. But this plenty of the physical and of the financial form This plenty has produced the plunder of our faith and of the life we truly long for. Yes, our plenty has produced our plunder. Each one of us who comes forth out of the womb with a beating heart is born as a pure and unadulterated child, an pure and unadulterated baby. We are each made in the image of God. Yes, we find this in Genesis chapter 1. Immediately after God spoke the earth and its form into existence, he created the animals, those of the air, land, and sea. Then he created humanity. In verses 26 and 27 of Genesis chapter 1, it reads, Then God said, Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps up, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So, as mentioned, we are created in his image, which is pure. He is sinless and unadulterated, and actually, we were also when we first cried upon that moment we call birth. Then second is our environment. Yes, this one is got some real distasteful stuff. This distasteful stuff that I'll allude to here happened just a couple years ago. I remember reading about this when it first came out. But our environment, the environment we call home, in every single continent across the world, is ravaged with a dirty environment. Yeah. From the smog and litter to other dumpings into the mainstream air and grounds, to the onslaught of filth in every form of media and every means or medium of information we find it. Our very world, yes, our very world is wrecked and reeked with forms of ungodliness. We cannot turn on the television, the radio, or go on to the internet without something filthy or outright disgusting being portrayed or advertised. The dirt finds its way into our inbox even when we didn't sign up for those emails. Yes, it's everywhere. And actually, it's this third one, my bad, of where the really over the top disgusting thing that happened roughly 2 years ago. But the third one is our teachings. Yes. And our schools, our kids are drowned with the barrage of filthy garbage. Yes, it is true. There's a school up northeast, in the northeast corner of the country, up that direction, which is one of the costliest private schools in all of the New England area, mind you, that brought in a so-called sex expert to teach the first graders. Yes, first graders. And she reportedly showed them young children illicit videos of hold your breath or hold your ears. of masturbation. Yeah. And explain this to the kids. I mean, what is our world coming to? And if that was not egregious enough, wait till you hear what came from that. Well, when the school, came under fire by the parents and the citizens of the local community there, they downplayed it. The school told the parents and the rest of their critics that it wasn't as bad as they were making it out to be. They claimed that they were making a mountain out of a molehill. Really? These parents pay, I don't know what the dollar figure is, but it has to be steep. That's one of the most expensive schools, so not just in their own state, but in the entire New England area. And even if it wasn't, to bring this garbage to first graders, even if they're 12th graders, but to first graders. Yeah. And as I previously stated, this happened just a couple years ago. Yeah. Friends, we cannot allow this to continue. Enough is enough. I mean, I would hope that the whole world would be saying amen. But I know that there are those who just as well look past it. But we cannot continue to look past this junk, to put it kindly. Not that I'm trying to be kind, but trying not to say some kind of words that I shouldn't. Yeah. We must work to incriminate and destroy every evil thing and those, yes, that's people. Incriminate and destroy those who set themselves up against God and his teachings. It is sickening. We cannot allow this to continue. Do you see that? Do you see that? That, whether or not we intended it to, we have let through our livelihood, L, through our environment, E, through our teachings, T, we have let ungodly, unadulterated, or we have let ungodly, adulterated bigotry to come forth. And in turn, it has come into us, corrupting us and destroying our very lives. Yes. And it doesn't stop there. From this rises lust, a desire for more dogged, sickening filth, a strong desire to be involved in more and more of this ungodly bigotry. And there's thievery. Theft grows and grows from this. Falsehood. Theft and falsehood, lies, go hand in hand. Show me a thief who's not a liar. Show me a liar who's not a thief. And it doesn't stop there. From that spills over into murder. Yeah. Then from there, greed. Yeah. Greed and covetousness. And from there, anger, malice, bitterness, and every form of hatred imaginable. Yeah. With such hatred, we will never come to fully know the real, the true God, the real, the true love of God. Let me repeat that. With such hatred, we will never come to know the real, true God. We will never come to fully know the real, true love of God. It has been said, we cannot pray in love and live in hate and still think we are worshiping God. Yes. And I will add that neither can we hate and know the love of God. In fact, this is even mentioned in the book of 1 John. I'm going to turn there this moment. In 1 John chapter 4, it reads, starting in verse 17, "In this, love is perfected with us, so that we may have confidence in the day of judgment. For we are as he is in this world. There is no fear in love, except perfect love drives out fear, because fear involves punishment. So the one who fears has not reached perfection in love. We love because he first loved us." Verse 20, "If anyone says, 'I love God,' yet hates his brother, he is a liar. For the person who does not love his brother he has seen cannot love the God he has not seen." Verse 21, "And we have this command from him: the one who loves God must also love his brother." So, neither can we hate and fully come to know, to experience the love of God that we all desperately desire. As I mentioned that at the outset. And as I said, you may not think you desire it. You may say, "I'm not a person of faith. I'm not a religious person," or however you want to word it. But you do, whether you realize it or not. We all desire to know the love of the Father. But with hate reigning, taking charge, with hate being the lead, the master, love has no place. Radhanath Swami wisely stated that pure love of God is our very nature. But we are so much diverted, so much distracted by the externals that we've forgotten that it's our essence. Yes, that pure love of God being our very nature is that which we were born as. Those pure creatures made in his image. But through the externals, our livelihood, having so much that we're distracted, having so much, our environment saturating our hearts and minds with filth, not to mention our lungs and our bodies. And our teachings, planting seeds that will grow up within us and choke us of our very lives, of the very lives we desire. Through the externals we've let come in, we've become diverted and distracted. We've lost sight of our very essence of who we are. And in fact, we are not that now, but of who we once were. We see an example of this plays itself out. So I shouldn't say it plays itself out. We don't see it in story form that tells about it as much as just it being mentioned. We find this is much like the church of Ephesus that Jesus told the Apostle John to write to speak to through the angel. We can find this in Revelation chapter 2. And I'm going to turn there. I'll read beginning in verse 1. The letters to the seven churches. The letter to Ephesus. Write to the angel of the church in Ephesus, the one who holds the seven stars in his right hand and who walks among the seven gold lampstands, says, I know your works, your labor, and your endurance, and that you cannot tolerate evil. You have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and you have found them to be liars. You also possess endurance and have tolerated many things because of my name and have not grown weary. But I have this against you. You have abandoned the love you had at first. Remember then how far you have fallen. Repent and do the works you did at first. Otherwise, I will come to you and remove your lampstand from its place, unless you repent. Just like the church at Ephesus had been diverted away from its first love, from who it used to be, of who it desired to be at one time. We, at first, coming out of our mother's womb, were pure, unadulterated little babies. Yet, through our livelihood, through our experiences, and through our teachings, we have grown into something that is far from that little infant baby we once were, that pure, sinless child we were when we first came into earth. So, as we see, we too, as we become distracted and diverted, we too, as Jesus said through the Apostle John to the Ephesians, we too have fallen. So, Now the question is, how will we ever truly know, truly experience the love of God? How will we ever reach anywhere near the pinnacle of the fullness of His love? Well, I want to present to you these 4 truths I put together. Consider these 4 truths that transform. 1, go visit and experience the hurting souls, the less fortunate. Remember the hurting, the injured, the sick. Remember, they too are His. Remember His. H, the hurting. I, the injured. S, the sick. And before you say, well, who would they be? I don't know. Your community has people who are hurting, and you know them yourselves. Yes, you're bound to. Ask yourself, who do I know that is hurting? I mean, we all hurt at some time or another. Some, it's a more something that lasts longer. It's not just a stubbed toe. Usually, when it's something that lingers, has emotional pain tied to it. Emotional pain is a real thing, and it's sadly it's very popular in our world today, even amongst those who are in the church. Who do you know who is hurting? Who do you know who is injured? I mean, people get injured all the time. I mean, if you've managed to not have one injury all your life, you're very fortunate. Consider yourself to be tremendously blessed. But people get injured, kids playing sports or just clowning around outside playing. There's auto accidents that do more than just smash a car. They damage bodies. People get hurt. People get injured. Then ask yourself, who do I know who is sick? I mean, sickness abounds. It's all over. Think, who will you go and visit? Who will you spend time with? Go to them, visit with them, sit with them, write them a letter and hand deliver it. I'm sure you know that handwritten letters, especially hand delivered, have a way of really touching hearts. You express your love for that person, your heart for them, and your desire to help them. Write that letter and hand deliver it. Bring them a gift. The cost is not what's important here. It's the thoughtfulness that's behind it. And take them some food. You say, I don't know what to buy them. Take them some food. Then 2, give away some of your belongings. Personally, go to them who don't have as much and give them something of yours, something that, one, is of value to you. Or buy them that gift. Spend your money to buy it. Then you'll be giving up monetary means that's of value to you. Either way, make sure you know they like that type of gift that you're giving them or buying them, or that they want that particular gift that you're giving. Yes, your sacrifice should also be a service. Both are key. Sacrifice and service. Sacrifice implies that it cost you. You gave up something of value, something that you enjoyed, you liked, or you spent your money to get that gift for them. You made that sacrifice for them. And it's a service to them, and that they enjoy that. They wanted that. They like that. 3, find an organization that tends to low income or broken families. Such organizations are all over. Every county and every state throughout the USA is required to have these types of organizations. Some have more than others, yes. But every county all over, you will find charitable organizations or social services, organizations or civic organizations or clubs of something, ministries that help them who are less fortunate. Be a tutor, a mentor to that kid who doesn't have a mother or a father. Many children find their parents are incarcerated. Be that mentor, that leader that speaks into their life, that keeps them, on the straight and narrow, that helps them to walk the pathway that is right and not go down the same pathway their parent went. Then 4, devote yourself to him, to the Father. We cannot leave this out. Yes, devote yourself to him, to being alone with him, to being together with him, to being at him, alone and together, at his feet, in his word, at his feet in prayer, in his word, through reading, meditation, study. Friends, in 1 John 4:12, it reads, "No one has ever seen God. But if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us." 1 John 4:12. Mother Teresa wisely noted, "Faith in action is love, and love in action is service." By transforming that faith into living acts of love, we put ourselves in contact with God himself, with Jesus our Lord. Yes. And I want to share with you what American psychiatrist and author Morgan Scott Peck said. M. Scott Peck writes, "Love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Love is as love does. Love is an act of will, namely, both an intention and an action. Will also implies choice. We do not have to love. We choose to love." Yes. When someone says, "I will love," they choose to love. And love is not love unless you've chosen to give it to someone. It is not something that comes on its own. So, there we have it. And I can personally attest to these last two quotes. You have heard me mention, perhaps in other comments, the name Shirley Dixon. Shirley is my dear friend who is no longer with us. And I count it a real joy and privilege and honor to have spent the time I had with her. And there are times, she asked me, why do you love me? I mean, what possessed you to love me? I didn't even know her until she was in the last few years of her life, and I was with her and I did things for her and that. I said, Shirley, I've chosen to love you because whatever person you love or whatever it is you love, you need to choose to love. I've chosen to love you. And I can honestly say that the time that I spent together with her, I often told her this. I said, I experienced God more when I was with her than I did in any church gathering, any kind of worship service or study or anything of the sort with the church. What I told her is, and I say to you, when you do the work of God, it is then that you experience the love of God and the presence of God. Friends, we're nearing the end of our show, and we've looked at how we can experience the love of God. But first we spoke of why so many of us never have experienced this love. Yes, that is His love. Then I shared 4 truths, the 4 truths that transform, enabling us to actually know, to truly experience the love of God. And you'll find that each truth here involves self-denial, which is the prognosis listed for being a follower, a disciple of Christ. You can find this, this is listed in each of the first 3 Gospels. You'll see this referenced, mentioned. But at the outset of our lesson today, I asked you how your love for God is. Then I proceeded to talk about something else, or so it may have seemed. The reason is, when you truly know, when you firsthand, you truly know from experience the love of God, then your love for Him will increase and overflow. So if we can truly come to know, to experience His love, our love for Him will increase. It'll grow. It'll take on new meaning. It will abound. Friends, we'll be right back.
Wow, that was insightful. Stay tuned as we go on a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Insights to Incite right here on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Are you seeking a speaker or coach who speaks life into your people? If so, look no further. Brandon Lawson is one who will inspire and motivate his audience, as well as empathize and relate to all. Reach out to Brandon and let him be your speaker and life coach by sending an email to brandon@connectandimpact.net
Or by calling him at 513-708-1517.
Brandon looks forward to speaking with you, to you, and for you. Let's connect and impact today. Insights to Incite, a real show with real-life messages. This show, which can be found on radio, TV, and our podcast, gives us insight to incite us to action and to excellence. Watch and or listen to Insights to Incite live at noon Eastern Time every Thursday on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Check out our past episodes on iHeartRadio, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Join us each week, and together we will escape the mundane. We are back with more Insights to Incite, so get ready and tune in to listen and watch. Now, once again, let's join Brandon Lawson.
Friends, we have basically reached the end of the show, but before I go, I just want to again thank any of you who have come to watch or listen in, or if you see the the podcast, the recorded version. We want to thank you for joining us and listening. And if you want to take advantage of those specials, please do. Reach out to me. And also, I always say at the end that while you may not always agree with everything I have to say, we may not see everything eye to eye, still, I want to invite you to join me for another episode of Eye to Eye, Insights to Incite. We are here every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern, live. And as we think of this notion of, doing these four truths that transform and how they each involve they denote a portion, an application of self-denial. There's a prayer that I'm going to have Roxy read us as we close the show. And this speaks to asking God to help us, which is part of it is to some extent involves being willing to deny ourselves and recognize our flaws and our wrongs. Thank you.
Dear God, enlighten what's dark in me. Strengthen what's weak in me. Mend what is broken in me. Bind what's bruised in me. Heal what's sick in me. And lastly, revive whatever peace and love has died in me. Wow, what an insightful show. Thanks for listening in and watching today. If you missed any part of today's show or any other episode, check it out on iHeartRadio, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Now take today's insight and utilize it. Incite yourself to action and to excellence in the week ahead, and join us again next Thursday and every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Time for another insightful session with Brandon Lawson as he speaks to us and shares some more insights to incite right here on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV.